Yeah, I'm ready to go whenever.
All right. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order then. It is Tuesday, August 11th of 2020. And the first order of business would be the roll call.
Great. I'm going alphabetical because it's my first time. Boersma. Here. Caravello.
Here.
Doom.
Here.
Hiley.
Here.
Hirsch.
Here.
Hunt.
Here.
Jensen does not appear to be here. Lagaki.
Here.
Majewski.
Here.
Reeves.
Here.
Riley. Not see him. And Schumacher.
Here.
Okay, so we have 10 alders present.
Excellent. Thank you. So far, so good, Jamie. You're doing a great job.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next item is communications and presentations. Are there any communications from alders this evening? All right, hearing none. I have one, and I just want to take a moment to congratulate and thank Mike Hegger and the food pantry team. They applied for what they call the Coping with COVID grant for the food pantry through the Data Food Security Initiative. And they were awarded a grant amount of $1,839.04 that they'll be using for upgrades at the food pantry. What they're planning on doing is putting in a cordless telephone with a headset so they can multitask within the facility. And then also they have done some electrical work, and they're going to be installing some new refrigeration and or freezer equipment. Supply chain has been very good, really ever since the trade war set in with China. We've been getting more pork in particular and quite a bit of dairy through our provider. And what we wanted to do is expand our storage so we could provide more opportunities for the increasing number of people in need. So they applied for the grant and they were able to receive it. So we're pretty excited about that. And we'd like to thank all of them. We have a lot of volunteers at the food pantry, and they're a good bunch. If you're down there and you see them, you know, please take a moment to say hi. They work hard to take care of the people in our community. Any communications from alders? Anybody think of anything, or staff? All right, hearing none, we'll go on to public comment. Nobody is signed up to speak for public comment, so we'll go right into the consent agenda. And the minutes from the last meeting are in there. I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Reeves, and who was the second?
Riley.
Second by Hiley. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed, that motion carries. Next item is old business. Ordinance 13 of 2020 comes from public safety. Who's the vice chair? Anybody remember?
I am.
Okay. Would you
This is
introduce?
Lagaki, yeah.
Could you introduce this for me, please?
Yes, this is ordinance 13 of 2020, amending chapter 70-176 of the City of Stoughton Municipal Code by creating subsection 80 relating to parking restrictions near any traffic island, and I believe this is our second reading.
It is. So would you like to make
I don't
that a
have any
motion?
commentary. It's pretty quick.
Would you like to make that a motion?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'm moving that.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Reeves. And any further discussion, Alderperson Legaki?
Black has his hand
Not
up.
really. I don't know if Chief has anything. I think it's pretty clear.
Mayor, I do.
Go ahead, Chief.
I would ask that you table it at the time being. Alderperson Jensen was going to make an amendment to this item. And since he's not present and since it is a fairly substantial amendment, I would ask that you table it till the next meeting so they have a chance to be there for the amendment moving, or for that matter, it might even be better just to refer it back to committee.
I move to refer back to the committee.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderperson Reeves.
Second.
Any discussion on sending it back to committee?
That's fine.
Okay, hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
One opposed, or were they all ayes? I think they were all ayes. Okay, that motion carries. So that'll go back to committee and we'll probably see it maybe in a couple weeks or maybe early next month. Next item, if you could introduce this one as well, Gene, is Ordinance 14 of 2020.
Yes, this is for amending chapter 7176 of the City of Stoughton Municipal Code by creating a subsection 81 relating to designating yellow curb painting as official no parking zones. At our meeting, even though we're not aware of an amendment, we did recommend passage of this, but it was linked to the prior one, and so I'm deferring moving this per discussion that we're about to have. Maybe it'll stay at committee because it's linked to the other one.
Okay, anything on this one, Chief Leck?
Yeah, actually, it's not really linked to the other one. It is a standalone. It has bearing on the other one because the previous recommended ordinance would be affected by this one, but this ordinance does stand by itself.
So would you have a recommendation, Chief Leck, one way or another?
Yeah, I'd recommend approval.
Are you okay with that, Gene?
Sure, though committee, being part of the committee, not aware of it, I just thought it was wise to hold off since we're not clear on what we're doing. So I'm choosing not to move it.
All right. Did anyone else want to move it, or do you want to send it back to committee, or postpone it till the next meeting, or I guess those are the options.
I would move to postpone it until the ordinance 13 can come back.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, any discussion on the postponement? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so that'll come back at a future meeting.
I didn't catch who opposed that.
No one, I think it was just delay.
Alder Legaki seems to be delayed.
Yeah, okay. So that'll be coming back. It was unanimous. We'll come back at the next meeting then. Next item is also coming from public safety. And that was ordinance 15. Alderperson Legaki.
This is amending a different chapter, 70-221 of the City of Stoughton Municipal Code by adding subsection 1(4) relating to stopping restrictions on Glacier Moraine Drive at Williams Drive. Committee recommends approval and I so move. This is a second reading.
Is there a second?
Second.
I didn't catch the first second.
Second.
Okay, it was Alderperson Mieski. Any discussion, Gene?
Nothing new. Second reading of stop signs at Glacier Moraine Drive in Williams.
All right, anything you want to add, Chief?
No, this one's clean.
All right, anything from any alders? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? That motion carries. Next item is ordinance 16. And that one comes from Public Works, Alderperson Mieski.
This is ordinance 16 of 2020, amending section 10-131 of chapter 10, building and building regulations. Public Works recommends approval of 3-0 on July 16th, and I so move.
Second.
Second by Alderperson Reeves. Alderperson Mieski.
I was not at this meeting, so I do not know this one that well. So if Ronnie would please clarify, I would appreciate it.
Yeah, the rainfall events, the numerical value for the rainfall events was off by 1/10. You'll see that the correction in the numerical for each of the rainfall events has been changed to be consistent with the county at this point.
All right, any questions from any alders?
I just have one, and that is it required by the county?
It's a county-wide standard, and we enforce it locally, so it's appropriate to have the same numerical value as the county at this point.
Okay.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
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 And any opposed?
Aye.
And none opposed, and that motion carries. Last item is new business, and this one didn't go through a committee. This one was worked on by Attorney Dragney and Planning Director Shield. Matt, do you want to walk us through this, and then we'll entertain a motion?
You're muted, Matt.
All right. I don't have that on my screen. Give me a moment, please.
Yeah, it's on this screen if you can see it.
No, it's
No,
not.
I can't. I can't. So let me go to the agenda.
Sorry about that. I thought I had it up there.
Oh.
There it is.
Okay. Yeah, so some time ago, I don't recall offhand, there was an application by a developer for a change in zoning for the property referred to in these deed restrictions from the current zoning classification of rural holding to TR6. In evaluating that proposed rezoning, the city ultimately conditioned its approval of that rezoning on the developer meeting certain conditions, including the recording of deed restrictions that contain the provisions that are specified in this document. And the ordinance that was adopted requires that that these restrictions be approved by the Common Council. I can tell you that the restrictions that are set forth in this document do conform to the requirements of the ordinance. I'm just trying to see if I don't know if Rodney can tell me whether Mr. Arnett made the changes I requested. I'm trying to see. Can you scroll down there a little bit more?
They've been made.
Okay. Yep. Okay. So these are the restrictions that would need to be approved in order for at least some of the conditions in that ordinance approving zoning to be satisfied. And I will say it's a rather complicated zoning a set of zoning issues here.
Where is this property actually located? Is this the corner of B and Williams on the opposite side of his other development?
North end of Page Street at County B.
But it's not crossing County B. It's still in his original development that he has never rectified the kind of the sewage system, right? Is that the area? And we still haven't got any parkland from that site. Is that the area we're talking about?
Yeah, none of the development that's occurred to date required additional dedication. But yes, it's the end of Page Street, correct?
So does this like resolve the issue of the sewage problem? Sewer, whatever, laterals and all that problem? Because he was trying to put a mound system in. I can't remember what it was, but it's been a number of years.
Yeah, this was discussed just over 2 years ago. And no, this condition, even if this condition is satisfied, he still needs to submit a plan that would be approvable by the city and Stoughton utilities related to utilities, especially sanitary sewer.
So Rodney, does that mean he cannot go ahead until he resolves that second issue?
Yeah, there's actually about a half a dozen issues that have to be satisfied. Tonight's action is only one of them that would be satisfied. But yes, ultimately a plan has to be approved or would need to be submitted and approved by the city before he could proceed with the development that Regina referred to.
If this can I speak? If this moves forward for a motion, I need to abstain. Just to let you know, I work with him.
Okay.
I had a question.
Sure.
And it was a cumbersome document, so I might be missing something, but I thought originally there was mention of a bike pedestrian path, but then I didn't see it. So is that related to this at all, or if you could help me out with that?
Yeah, it's not specifically related to this rezoning, but it would be part of the discussion as part of the development layout that would need to be submitted.
So it's not really relevant for approval this evening, correct?
Correct.
All right, thanks.
So could you just kind of, I read this quick this afternoon, I apologize, but can you just kind of go over what the major changes are? Is he going from single family to, multiple family? I mean, the big gist of this, and what are the major changes that we should be concerned about?
So the rezoning is from rural holding, which is really a pre-development type zoning classification, to TR6. TR6 is twin family residential. Under
Okay.
his scenario, he anticipates submitting a group development proposal that would have multiple track of land in these 5 parcels combined. Again, that development proposal needs to be vetted and approved by the council before it could become effective.
So actually, all we're moving on is whether to go from rural holdings to TR6 tonight.
Well, this is Matt, if I could speak to that.
Sure, go
So
ahead.
this is, can you hear me? So the council has already adopted an ordinance approving a change in zoning to TR6, but that ordinance included a number of conditions. And one of those conditions required that covenants and restrictions applicable to the property must be approved by the Common Council and recorded with the Register of Deeds. And those restrictions were required to include the provisions that are in the document before you tonight. And I think the intent of that document was to impose some additional regulatory obligations on this property that would not have necessarily been otherwise provided for in the zoning code. It's been a couple of years since this ordinance was developed and approved, so I don't remember all of the discussion, the details that went into the development of that ordinance. But this deed restriction is essentially meeting one of the conditions in that ordinance. So in effect, the council has already voted on the change in zoning from rural holding to TR6. The only question now, I think, is whether these conditions, in your judgment, meet the requirements of that ordinance or not. And I can tell you that I have reviewed them, and they do conform very closely to what the ordinance said they needed to provide.
Any other questions? Otherwise, I would entertain a motion. So we're really just looking at the deed tonight. There may be some other things that come before you later, but this is one of the things that, you know, he needs to get through in order to keep the project going.
Move to approve.
Is all of the access to this,
All right, so I had a motion to approve. Can we get a second, and then we'll go through more questions?
Second.
Second.
by Doom, okay. And Jean, did you have a question?
is access to this project going to be off of Page then? Is it be off? Because it will not be from County Highway B?
That's correct.
I have a question as
Just
well.
knowing some of
Sorry.
these, do we see any potential bottlenecks? That this could create future, just trying to clarify potential traffic in the, just want traffic issues since everything will be accessed off of Page.
Yeah, once we actually are reviewing the group development proposal, that would be the time we'd really evaluate the access location onto Page Street and the density and the like to evaluate the traffic impact in relationship to County Highway B intersection.
And as I understand it, and Rodney can help me on this one, the only thing that could happen on this,
Thank you, Rod.
I think the only thing that could be developed on this property without approval of a group development or without some other approval from the city would be one single family home. Is that correct, Rodney?
That's correct.
Alderperson
Rodney, how does this
Caravello, did you have
match
a
up?
question?
Okay, I think there's a lot of delay going on, but if I was reading this correctly, did I see something in there regarding timeliness or a deadline of approving this?
Yes. The ordinance that was approved by the city requires that certain conditions be satisfied before August. Rodney, can you help me on the date? August what?
15th, I believe.
August 15th. So the date is fast approaching. And so if he doesn't meet the conditions, including council approval of the document that's before you tonight by that deadline, then the ordinance that was adopted, changing the zoning to TR6 will become null and void.
And if at this point, for some reason, we did not vote to approve this, he just kind of goes back further to the drawing board? Or less? Or-
Well, the property would then retain its zoning of rural holding, and he would have to, yeah, he'd have to start over with some other process.
Any other questions or comments? I know there was a delay and there was kind of stepped on each other. I don't know who that was or. Okay, so no other questions or comments. So we do have a motion to approve and a second. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
I,
Aye.
And those opposed? And that motion would carry.
And just for the record, I did abstain, Tim.
Oh, okay, yeah, thanks for the reminder. I don't know if you necessarily would have had to, but you're certainly welcome to do that.
Well, I feel like I did on this one.
I think there was,
And I was not at all part of the discussion, so just for the record.
That's fine.
I think there's some delay, and I thought there may have been some votes in opposition to the motion, but I'm not certain.
What, was there anyone that voted against this? I didn't hear it.
Maybe not.
I'm still not hearing it, but yeah, there has been delay tonight, which is always fun. It's hard enough when it's working. Okay, so that motion did carry with one abstention.
Mayor?
Yes,
Can I make a suggestion that the next time we do something like this, that it actually gets run through a committee so it can be well vetted, and so that we know that a number of council members had a good chance to look at it.
well, certainly, in this particular case, we didn't receive it in time to do that.
No, I know, but I'm just saying going forward.
Well, and I'll communicate that with the developer.
And why didn't we get it sooner?
We just received it last week.
I know, I'm saying, why didn't we get it any sooner? If
I
he
didn't
knew
have
there
any
was a
direct
deadline,
conversation with the developer.
I have
But
a
I will-
question. I have a question. Regina, if you, which committee would you recommend that this would have gone through?
I don't know, planning, I mean, where does it usually go?
Planning isn't a committee, it's a commission.
Okay. I don't know.
Well-
I mean, something usually goes through some committee before coming here.
This originally did come from planning, only it came from planning 2 years ago.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, so there's really nowhere to send it, and even if there was, we would have never been able to do it within the time that we were given to, so.
Right,
know.
that's not really our fault. I mean,
Well,
That's my point.
I totally get that, and, at that point, you have to make a decision on whether you want to take action or not. And, you chose to take action, but I'll certainly communicate to the developer that going forward, that could be problematic.
thank you. That's all I'm saying is that, I appreciate under these circumstances and this kind of time that we're going through that things are a little wacky. But I would still like to have some semblance of order and process going forward.
I think we agree.
You can always tell them that we can always revote.
Yeah.
All right, so that's all we had on the agenda.
I move to adjourn.
Second.
second,
Motion by Boersma, a second by Hiley. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
I.
Any opposed? None opposed. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you.
Night, folks.